our experience here just feels so real, like just what we did and stuff, being kind of annoying, and yet you looked at it a totally different perspective. It's a
Interesting.
learning. It's a learning
Yeah. Have you
that,
been not feeling real lately?
yeah, I guess so, in a wonderful way, because it's very kind of like a detached, almost like a disassociative way. Very, I'm really disconnected from
Bullshit.
it's this banal fucking conversation, this these simple salutations and just people that connect very superficially. So yeah, because my belief, and it's pretty cemented into my personality now too, is that, you know, there is no death, and we're just we're just these afraid little animals down here.
Yes, that is.
Just in that one simple thing, there's really nothing to lose, and we're learning in this duality, as we. I mean, it's set up so we get to our death at the end. It's 111 right now,
I've noticed. I was trying to get that in there too. Yeah.
because the last thing that we lose is this body, and that's the hardest thing to lose because we we put everything into it. We tried to make it so wonderful, and we got so fucking attached to this thing.
Mm-hmm.
That is the final lesson, you know? Because ultimately, I mean, the body is just a vehicle.
Welcome back, guys, to the podcast. My name is Jacqui Mancuso, and today I am joined by my lovely friend Bob, Bob the Nomad. Just to give you guys a little bit of a background, I met Bob a couple months ago at a Reiki share that was hosted by I hosted it, but it was put together by myself and my good friend Sam. Sam knows everyone in the fucking world. So Sam invited Bob. He and I had maybe a 5 minute conversation, and it was just that thing that clicked. And Bob actually asked me if I was on this platform called Facebook, and I was so nervous to befriend someone because of my strong opinions that I put on Facebook. But he and I clicked, and everything is flowing. So he is here today to join me on this podcast journey. So, welcome, Bob. Thanks for coming. Right before we hit record, we were on this topic of what is a body, right? What do we lose when we die? And I liked where you were going with that. So let's just pick right back up with whatever you were talking about. No
How do
problem.
you, no, no, you know how there's that phrase of like, what would you tell your younger self, or, what's the most important lesson and stuff like that? But that would be it, that there's really nothing to lose. We chose this game to learn who we are.
And that's exactly what it is. It's a game. How did
Just
you
real though, the pain and
oh
the suffering and all of that. It's it's so tactile and so beautiful. But when I've truly experienced like oneness and stuff, it just all goes away. It all goes away, and it seems to be more real than waking life. You
I
know,
yeah, I
but we
resonate.
spend so much time in waking life, and that's like all we've learned and we're brought up in. Um, we think that's the only thing.
How did you get to this place of oneness?
So, man, really, Oh God.
Loaded question.
Yeah, I don't know how far I want to go back, right? Because then I got to come forward. But I've always been very interested in otherworldly things with the supernatural. Like, I remember being in grade school and the library, all the psychic dreams, astral traveling, magic, and all that stuff was really cool. And I started reading about more occulted things. Um, uh, I got my hands on Dante's Inferno, and
Can
that
you tell
was
me what that is? I've heard that a lot, but like
Dante's Inferno.
I just
It's
know the
it's
title.
about the levels of hell, all the
Oh.
different levels of hell. Yeah, some light reading, and but the occult, and then like so Crowley, and that stuff just seemed very interesting to me.
Aleister Crowley.
Yeah,
Okay.
or Crowley, or however you say it. Um, and then I got into what I would just call, I thought I was following Buddhism.
Okay.
And where I'm really going with this is for the longest time, I was into meditation where my focus was one pointedness, and it was really just like a breath meditation. And the outside thoughts would come in, and I didn't entertain them. And I used this method for years and years and years, and I had lots of wonderful experiences, great experiences. Only relatively recently and massively kicked up with the pandemic um, is my experience of going into the control aspect of it. So rather than just this whole letting go, letting be, which is truth in itself, manifestation, um, using my energy, cultivating my energy. I've been doing Qigong for a while, and that's one of the most powerful practices I have because it can just, it's a method that I can just go into and it will center me and it brings me back pretty close to source. Um, I'm bringing up so much crap at once. And then what is so important right now is getting to that place in ourselves that is home. And that's really truth.
It's a journey to get there. Absolutely.
It
Like
doesn't
it's
have to be, though. It's here right now. It doesn't have to be a journey.
that's a good point.
Mm. What's weird, I'm getting all choked up too. It's interesting.
I like how
I,
you multiple times you've talked about like experiencing through the human body. And it might have been before we were recording, so I don't know if it's here, but you've brought this up a couple times where instead of just letting go, instead of just almost pushing away, you're bringing in all of the, you even called like tragedy beautiful, you know, all this pain, all this sorrow, but it's beautiful. And coming from an astrology standpoint, that's, you know, my realm of expertise. Currently, the north node of the moon, so it's like the collective destiny where we need to go right now. The north node of the moon is in Taurus. And this has been for about just the last year, and it will continue for about the next 6 months. But in order for us to evolve into the highest consciousness right now, we need to tune into our physical body. Taurus themes, very simple, very basic, like put your feet on the grass and experience life that way. And similar with all these emotions that you're bringing up, like tragedy doesn't need to be bad. Yeah, I'm also in a part of my experience right now where I'm stripping labels. Like, fuck the label. Like, what is it? You know where I'm going with that.
kind of. I mean, labels, I get that.
Yeah, I don't know if I had a specific definite destination of where I was going with that, but the pandemic that you brought up. Let's talk about that. It that
Funny, I don't even normally call it that. I just use that.
you were influenced by my energy. But yeah, like that label, if you put the label of like you're gonna get sick, you're gonna get this illness, it's this illness, I don't even want to say the word. And actually, because of YouTube, I don't think we should say the word. But putting that, like slapping that label on, this is the scary thing that you should be afraid of right now. I think that everyone just attracted it to themselves. They were living in
Mm.
that fear consciousness, and then here it is. Now it's upon me. Now I have this illness, right?
Fear is such a wonderful thing, actually, because it it's such a teacher. Um, I kind of want to digress though.
Sure.
So in the meditation, and I know you've done your share, but you notice that that voice comes up and that I want to do something else. I want to judge my experience. I want to, I need just all these outside things that come in that try to take you from just being in source without the words. That is the energy that is out of whack, that is controlling.
Expand,
It
please.
is controlling that in the collective right now. There is a group of, I don't even want to call them people because I think it's beyond humans that are controlling humanity. And they're doing it through that. That is our deepest fear. It is the thing that takes us away from source the easiest.
So are you saying that they're controlling that inner voice that comes up when you're trying to spend the quiet moment?
No,
What are they controlling? Because I'm on the same page.
that's actually what's controlling them because they know that that is actually what we fear. Our deepest fear is actually sitting with ourselves and dying to ourselves. That's our deepest fear. It's dying. It's the death. Once again, this meat suit again, right?
Mhm.
It's the biggest thing that we lose. They they understand. So and I'm learning so much about this through actual knowledge, through actual reading and old esoteric um, teachings. Um, the truths that they spoke are what are being used to keep us controlled. It is the ego that is just out of whack. When the ego is not centered in itself, it seeks to control things. And that's what um, this group, never just call them a group, that's what it is. This group is doing. They are illuminated, they are the Illuminati to the extent that they have deep knowledge about how our psyche is. And they're using that layers upon layers upon layers of deception to control us. And yeah, like I know I'm going on and I'm very scattered because I feel like there's all this stuff I want to share and get across.
We
And
can meet
I'm
many,
not the
many
I'm
times.
not the best at communicating that way too, because I don't stay on track. I just
That's good. That's how I listen.
um if we all knew who we were, this would shift so much faster.
Absolutely. And I think that's their intention, is to, for the last thousands of years, to confuse humans about who they are, to assign them a role of like, you are your job, you are your family role, like to put all these labels on us, to like, so that the ego identifies with the labels instead of identifying with the spirit that is within. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because we are so lost in who we think we are. So I've developed this personality. I started out pretty much a blank canvas. Then they come in certain parts of the world and they traumatize the male immediately.
Sure.
They circumcise him
Yeah, that is immediate trauma.
immediate. And we're already, there's this whole cosmic abandonment thing going on. But then we start learning, and we learn in a world of separation, because who is teaching us is coming from the world of separation that they've been in. So we not only learn all these facts and stuff, we learn all of our belief systems. Everything is from this world of separation. And you get locked into the system. I mean, just looking at the system, it's much easier to see that the system is sick and that it's about competition, you know.
Yeah.
Look at it that way, that is how the group, fuck it, I'll call them the cabal, um, is looking to control us. If you get into a business, it works upon you being better than the other. You want to make more money. Um, and you can do that by withholding your secrets from the other. So I'm in the plumbing field, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I don't want that guy to take my job, I'm not going to tell him everything I know. I need to make sure that what I have is worth more than
Right.
him. And
Sure.
that works in the world of business, trade secrets. We don't give that stuff away because we want to hold ourselves. We want more knowledge so we can get what we want. And that's what is being done. And masterfully.
By
Because,
this
oh
group.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, right? I'll get into conspiracy theory here, fine. I'll get into the
Please.
mold, right? But if you look at what the CIA has disclosed to us that we can find for those that are willing to even look, they didn't just give that shit up. It's all been close to perfected. It's been increased. The knowledge is much more than what it was,
Mhm.
and this is a war on our consciousness.
Absolutely.
It's
We're
not with
in
tanks.
a spiritual war. Yes, a
Everything's
war.
everything's weaponized. And I hate to have this view of things because while that is true, the opposite is true too. We're creating it.
It's very interesting that you're bringing this up. Recently, so I'm married to a Sagittarius man. I'm talking to a
Ew.
Sagittarius man. I have a few students who are Sagittarius young men, and I'm just bombarded currently with Sagittarius men. And I feel like the message that for me personally is coming through this filter is that of temperance, is that of alchemy, like blending. In my worldview, I lean into optimism. If I understand that I create my own reality, why not be an optimist? Because if I get to create it with my thoughts, goddamn, I want my thoughts to be positive, right? And what's coming from the Sagittarius side over and over is what I would view as pessimism, because all these Sagittarians are coming at me with realism. So now I'm redefining my own realism, pessimism, optimism. Do you have something to say about that? You got excited. Oh, okay. So then I actually went through with one of these Sagittarius young men, and we like Googled the definition of realism, of pessimism, of optimism, and all that. And it seemed like we were talking about the same thing, just with different lenses. So being in a state of realism, like accepting that this is what is in the world, but knowing that we don't want it, so using optimism to turn this world into what it is that we want. So how you, again, bringing it way back to the beginning when you're talking about like tragedy is beautiful. This loss, this death is beautiful. Like, thank you for being a Sagittarius and blending all of that together, because that's one of the hardest things to do right now. When people do wake up to all this reality, it's so easy to constrict and get scared and be fearful of it. When you don't need to be afraid of it, you can just acknowledge that it's there and then choose how you want to work with it, right? This is I actually went through my spiritual awakening at the same time that I woke up to all the world bullshit, all of this
Whoa.
and but they went hand in hand.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I thought that, like, I had the naive assumption a few years ago that, like, oh, okay, so everyone who's in this woo-woo world, everyone who meditates must also know that, we're being controlled, like, duh. And it took me until probably like a year ago to finally understand that, oh, not everyone knows this. But imagine how much power we would all have if we all understood that we're in control.
Yeah, because we're so deep in the belief systems. I mean, the etymology, the language has been controlled. Um, and and you learn this from not just going within, you learn that from going out and seeking out previous knowledge.
Even the greetings that we use. Hello, hell. Good morning, morning, sadness, right? Like, even the way we start conversations with people, it's all been, and you can call it a coincidence, right? I'm sure a lot of people would just say, oh, that's a coincidence.
No such thing as
Yeah, there are no such things as coincidences.
so much of it can be true at the same time and false. And that's where this duality gets really confusing, is we think there's these concrete truths,
Hmm.
and there are, but there's not too. It's so changeable upon just our perspectives alone, and the 3D is a real learning school.
Would you say that? So, what's your perspective? What's your take on 3D, 4D, 5D, and the
We're,
whole
we're
thing?
talking dimensions
Yes.
or densities.
Oh, I was going dimensions. Enlighten us, Bob.
If I had to put dimensions into think shapes, think geometry. Um, you can think in layers, but that's kind of limiting. Um, yeah, think shapes. So you got to get beyond the words because the words are really this dimension, right?
Yeah.
So shapes. Um, but densities, on the other hand, think about your chakras. Think about how dense we are down here and how we get lighter and lighter and lighter. Dimensions are, as they are shapes, they're how we think, though it's actually beyond thought, I should say. So it's more maybe about where our consciousness is,
Like
a
how we
level, a
perceive.
level, so to say,
Yeah.
how we perceive. Oh, you mentioned Indra's net.
That's right.
So
That just crossed my
picture
awareness. Don't know
in,
what that is.
Indra's net. I think it's Tibetan or Buddhist or something. Figure a net. Now figure that net um, on different planes. So you have, say, netting material. You have netting material going this way, then you have netting material going this way, and you have netting material going every which direction. Okay. Um, Now picture all those cross sections. There's a jewel, almost a transparent jewel. Now this is going to go out there. Now you Your individuality is just one of those singular jewels,
Okay.
and we're all these other jewels. So, say people. That is our perception of how we see the other through the other through the other ad infinite. It just goes on and on and on. So perceptions are just so vast. Um, but look at us down here. We got red and blue. We got black and white. It's so far from the truth. It may be the truth kind of down here. Let's talk this dimension.
Sure.
But we're raising up. We're no longer just third dimensional beings. And I don't know about the fourth and the fifth. And I know it's an elevated consciousness.
Sure.
Um, Actually, somebody who spoke about it eloquently, though I think some it will lose a lot of people, is Ra. So Law One type stuff. It's actually not a guy, but it's a collective of consciousness, I believe, is entities, whatever they call them. But they would talk about the different densities and dimensions, and that was an opening for me reading those books. But I've taken that and yeah, man, it is all connected. I can connect like all these other learnings together now,
Mm-hmm.
and they can sometimes be common sense, and other times they're just craziness. But it can all exist at the same time. It's where we put our thought. I know I'm traveling kind of quick.
You're perfect.
Yeah, it's we come home and we watch. I'll go on that reality TV or something, or we watch something that's purely entertainment. And if we're aware, mainly after the process, we can see that it's affected us. So we get like certain words, or we hear like a part of the movie that we just watched, or we're thinking about the next day for some crazy reason. It just, we start thinking about it because that's what we put into our consciousness. Now, we've been taught just all this duality. We've been taught all this stuff to take us out of spirit. So that's what we experience. You know, if if we were to generation upon generation, and Rudolf Steiner had a school, has schools that will teach the children much more elevated ways of thinking and not lock them into these dogmatic ways of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we live in the biggest religion right now. I mean, it's a dogmatic way of being, how they want us to live. You need to believe certain things. You need to believe that certain laws are the truth.
Yep.
When it's just really agreed upon, um, you know, somebody writes a law into existence, somebody stamps it, and then they get somebody to enforce it. Doesn't make it true. It doesn't make it moral.
Or ethical, right?
Ethics, yeah, I kind of split hairs on ethics and morality.
Sure.
Um, I don't know. I do have an issue with words that,
Likewise. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But really, I mean, and I think everybody knows, we didn't come here to make a living. We didn't come here to have to owe and to pay. We came here to learn,
We did
and
come
we
here.
are learning that way. And why do we want to learn? Because we evolve that way. We yeah, we evolve that way.
And just as you were saying before we recorded, I'm going to see if I can throw some of those sweet nuggets in here. But we're here to learn. And the last thing, like, we're here to learn to evolve, right? Because we never die. We just lose this body. So, of course, you would want to experience everything, all of the duality in this incarnation, because it's only here to help you grow so that the next time you do incarnate, whenever that is, you'll be coming to that incarnation with a heightened consciousness.
Which is, I think, why atheism is so big right now.
Explain.
Well, because they don't want to believe in that. It's a strictly very materialistic way of being. And I've went through my thing of atheism, and there's still some truth to it, because in a sense, God exists and it doesn't exist. Because who defines it? Whose perspective is God?
Everyone,
And
person.
then take it back to it's just language. You know, why I believe you're sharing, and I think why I share is because we deeply want to know the inner self. And our way of doing it is through the outer.
I am you and you are me, right? I feel like even this, like we're having an energetic conversation and words aren't even coming out. Like, I'm just looking at you and I
That's
know we're.
that's true conversation. That's what they were talking about sitting at the guru's feet. You know, Osho would speak that it's in between the words that he says. You know, he went into silence for I think 3 years.
I don't know if you knew this about me, but I was a public school teacher. I taught in the public school system for a few years. The world
Yeah,
got weird, and I said, I'm out. And that was my philosophy with teaching. I worked with middle school kids, so like just starting to come into awareness of like, oh, this is life kind of stuff. But I knew that I couldn't teach them anything. I could just speak words at them, and they would retain what they were ready to retain at that time. So just like this spiritual teaching stuff, like we can say as many words as we want out to the collective, but people are only going to digest what their consciousness is ready to digest. I can't teach anybody anything. I can talk and they can pick up what is time to be picked up.
it depends where their consciousness is at that time, how suggestible they are. You know, look at how suggestible we were when we were little. We took all that stuff to be the truth. We we gave somebody authority. We still are. And I think that's what the masses are kind of doing now. They're waiting for somebody else to fix it for them.
No one's coming to save us. And that can be the scariest thing in the world, or that could be the most empowering thing in the world. You choose, right? We have this world of duality. You can't escape duality. It's here. So just
You,
choose and
you
play.
can.
How
Sure you can.
how do you escape
Say,
duality?
okay, so I'll lock into the words again. So use the word escape. So I believe it's source. I think our source is not that dual. It's dropping into that quietude where everything just settles and you're not in duality at that point. But we just don't practice that too often. And I think we can get into flow states in other ways too. I mean, music and such. Anything that you aren't thinking, that you're not using your intellectual abilities to figure things out.
So I guess my perspective, like the point of me saying that was like you can't escape duality because we have human bodies right now.
Oh,
So
okay.
but even like if you are in that flow state, I'm thinking about like dancing. I taught dance for a little bit. There were times where I would just like hit play on a playlist and I have the dance room to myself and I would forget all of my life. But the reason I'm saying that you can't escape duality is because like if I hit the floor, I still break my face.
That's your body.
Uh, my spirit
It's
can.
part of the material. It's part of the 3D. I don't know if 3D. It's part of the material. You're part of the material. You can
And
die. You
my
can die. You can
soul.
get really fucked up down here. You can get really screwed up.
So
You know,
in what like describe what it is to escape duality because I don't think I'm following.
it's not escaping. It's actually falling into what you are, what we truly are. One of the most defining
Is it
awakenings for me.
detaching? from duality. Is that a better
Yeah,
word? Okay.
yeah,
Sorry to cut you off.
yeah. I was feeling really anxious a long time ago, and it's almost time to go to work. And I was really, really anxious, and it was probably about work a little bit, but also my physiology was not very, I was not balanced. I had a lot of issues, starting with the thyroid and leaching it out to all different things because I was taking all the medicines and shit. But a very anxious morning, and I sat down to meditation, couldn't quiet down, and was just hearing what was wrong in me, what was wrong where I had to go. And then I really wanted to get my shit together really fast because I knew I had to go to work. And it was at that, I don't know, that bewitching time, that twilight. It was very early in the morning. And I sat with all that crap. And it was heavy and it was concrete and it was once again the lower chakras. It was, survival. What's wrong? It's fear. I was scared. I was anxious. I was little. I was scared, and I sat with that, and it didn't happen slowly. It's kind of like something just opened up, and I fell into it. And this is just meditation. I'm not doing any drugs. I fell into it, and I fell into this nothingness where you kind of get this. I don't know if it was blissed out, but you get this, everything's perfect. Everything's all right. There's nothing to lose. And I've had this feeling, if I died right now, it's fine. It would be absolutely fine because that's what was supposed to happen. There was no fear. The fear goes away.
Mm-hmm.
The fear is all down here. And once again, the density that we're talking about, that we're moving up, we're moving into our heart. We're moving away from all this individuality, all this fear. I mean, fear's the big one, man. Fear just
Mm-hmm.
makes us blind. Uh, yeah, I
But
forgot the question. So yeah, I fell into what was real. I fell into the truth. It was more real than what was going on with my eyes open into my real life. I fell into something that was so true that that 10-minute experience changed me so much that it became like a truth during the day. So once again, talking about the fear of death, um, and not just the fear of death, looking at people that you know you're actually connected to. So you're connected to everything and everybody.
mm-hmm.
So looking at another human being, we seem to get it, I think, a little bit in a much more different way. But we're no different than everything around us, right? We're all made up of the same stuff and stardust, right? Um, but I got this understanding that shifted me of what source is. And source is one. Source is individual. Well, not individual, because individual implies something else. Source is total oneness. And there is no duality. When I truly experience, and I've experienced it many times, again, I fall into it's me. In saying it's me, that's just a pronoun. It's us.
Yeah, I,
It's
us.
I am.
Mm-hmm.
I am.
Are you, it,
I am covering so many things at once. I apologize. I get very,
no need
yeah,
to apologize. This has been divine.
scattered.
Uh, and I love the flow. I love that I can
Do
see
you?
the consciousness like going in and out, snaking
If I were
around.
to listen to me 20 years ago, I'd be like, what does this guy can't conclude?
But Never. You're not meant to conclude. You know, Sagittarius is a mutable sign. You're here to tweak things to be
Am
ready.
I actually a Sagittarius then?
Oh, your meat suit in this incarnation shows the sun of the Sagittarius.
Does it? Because our months,
Oh,
the
that's right.
entire calendar
Oh, we're gonna
is
go there.
2 months and we think a couple days off.
I
Yeah,
think
let's go there. Let's
April
go there.
1st. April 1st is month one. Because then April, May, June, July, August,
Why would they change the
no,
months on us?
Sept, Oct, Nov, Dec. Control. Control, Bob. Confusion.
Here's another understanding that is really, really big in the Tao and stuff like that. It made a lot of sense to me. But now when I'm checking out these hermetic and just these occulted texts and stuff, this understanding that the middle way is not just this Eastern philosophy that, just follow the middle way, but it also connects up to like the Gnostic teachings. So if you talk about Lucifer and you talk about Satan, once again, man, they controlled that. Those are polarities again. I'm
Mhm,
not saying that they're not true to some extent, but there's a middle way in
mhm.
between that. That is the truth, and we can rock. We can rock both ways. But yeah, we've been controlled by people that really know how it works, but they're not coming from their heart. They're egotistic beyond belief.
Yeah, and that's
And
not even like the human definition of egotistic. It is much more than even just
yeah,
human. Yeah.
yeah, because they can gain. They can gain from us. We're little energy sources here, man. We fit into the society we create for them.
Mhm.
We're energy.
And it's so important to understand that even your emotional state, without controlling your own emotions, just being swayed by every news article that you see, by hearing all this Hollywood gossip, if you're allowing your emotions to lead you through all of this, you're a puppet. You're the definition of a puppet, and they're doing everything that they want with your emotions.
We have to be careful with what we let in.
Mm-hmm.
In the same respect, we can't just go to the Luciferian extreme and be like, everything's love and light. It's all ethereal and unicorns, rainbows, lollipops.
I would love to ask you because I never associate, like when I think Luciferian, I think darkness. So expand on that, please. Because
Lucifer's light. Lucifer's light. All right, so check it out. Very simply, we know bad and good are polarities. And in New Age, even they tell you that nothing is actually bad, nothing's actually good, right? So we
Mhm.
get that. It's been done with Lucifer and what we call Satan. So Lucifer is somebody that doesn't want to be on this earth. We just want to be totally elevated. We're not talking about balance, baby. We're talking about we just want to be ethereal. The other aspect is down here. The other aspect is I am so locked into matter and anything can be explained. It has to be explained. It has to make common sense. It needs to be understandable. I don't want any of that woo-woo. Those are our lower. The Luciferian is um, it is almost escapism because it's not balancing both the polarities. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And I'm still trying to wrap my head around what I've been taught about Lucifer. And like I'm trying to let
Well,
that
because
go.
Lucifer is out of balance. Lucifer's totally out of balance. Lucifer, think about like the pagans or the witches or stuff, and um, not just with the nature, but they wanted magic. Um, they wanted to use magic, and they wanted to create things that were out of this realm, and they wanted to use it against you. So that seems like something that's really the adversary. That's something that's really going to be against the church. You
Sure.
know, um, that is something that is it's just it's to one extent. It's too magical. Let's put it that way. There's something to be said as too magical. Like I was watching this cat, and I watch him all the time, um, and he's totally locked into that he can play with the elements, and he can do this, and he can do that. But ask him to come down, and he can't come down. He's so luciferic. He's so filled with light that he can't um, he can't ground.
Yeah, like time, like schedule an appointment and make it on time. Just to give a basic example, I'm just joking.
Right? But you can see that that can be a total escape. And I do think psychedelics are going to be used to lead us once again out of balance that way. Granted, they're a beautiful way to uh, open a window, open a door, open.
In in
They're a way to open.
moderation, everything in moderation. Not
Well,
not living in the love and light and not
right,
living in the darkness, but
right.
taking the middle path and choosing.
Yeah, because when we're grounded, we we can see things better. If we're totally in love and light, then everything is, oh, it's all supposed to be, and it can become too light. It can become too light, ethereal. You get carried away. So, you get all airy fairy.
That's true.
On the other hand, they're so locked into the material. Have you ever heard of Ahriman?
No.
Okay, so this is well, I learned about it probably through Rudolf Steiner, but it goes back that who knows, Egyptian, Sumerian, Babylonian, right? But
History is made up.
so yeah, it's so hard to know what's actually real, especially living in this time that things can be faked so easily. I've gotten so much of my information when the computer started.
Oh yeah.
Everything just it just blew wide open,
Mhm.
and I was available to anything, much more than even now, because it's so clamped down. There was no dark web.
Right.
Everything, everything was available.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's when I found out about conspiracies and stuff like that.
Interesting.
And yeah, some of that shit can get totally whacked, but a lot of it's true.
Well, you were talking about, I couldn't even pronounce the word that you asked me if I heard about. What was that?
See, I'm off. I'm 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 excited to be able to talk to somebody who can grasp some of it.
I know what you mean.
Yeah,
That's why I'm hosting this podcast. That is the exact reason why I'm here to give us all a connecting force. Because man, when you're with this stuff in your own mind and you have no one to like bounce it off of, you feel like an alien.
you
Yes.
are.
Well, I know we are.
And then
Let's
you're not.
because we all are. I want to hear about this whatever word you said that I couldn't understand, and
Ahriman.
then
So
let's.
Ahriman got confused, and they kind of call him Satan because he's kind of like the Dark Lord.
Okay.
So we talked about Lucifer. Lucifer is of light. It's the morning bringer, right? He's the light bringer. But it's to a fault. It's not balance. It's a way of looking at a not an element. I don't know, kind of like a frequency. It's not the correct word, but Ahriman, on the other hand, is what they want us to be here. So they want us to be locked into what we think. They want us to only use common sense. They want to knock out the feminine principle of intuition. Intuition is woo-woo. There's nothing to that. That's crazy shit. Uh, it is scientific scientism, which is almost a religion. It's a religion. It's a way of thinking. To a fault. So science can be used for, well, what we think of as science now, because the other thing, I'm off track. Um, what we think of science now can be used for wonderful things, but if it's out of balance, once again, it becomes harmonic, and everything can only be explained this way. And the only way we can fix things is by moving matter with matter. And the only way we can fix things is by putting things into your body. We're going to fix the body. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And we are going to deny anything that goes against a materialistic way of thinking.
I'm a thing that started to, so my husband believes in what I do, but he's just mechanic man. He's in his own world. He entertains what I think of and he like agrees with it, but he's not here. As far as I know. But so I'm a Reiki master. I Reiki everything. His car was acting up one day and I just sat with my eyes closed and I did my thing. And at one point he looked over, he's like, "Are you Reikiing my car?" I was like, "Yeah." Car stopped acting up. That's proof. That's physical concrete proof that like energy affects matter. It's all intention.
And that's the problem, is the materialism's falling apart now because they're proving that.
Oh yeah, it all has to collapse in order for us to rebuild the new earth, whatever that's going to be.
The scientists will actually prove God. They'll prove that it's true. Not little by little, everything that they've been teaching us in the past about telepathy, clairvoyance, all these different psychic powers. We are the technology.
Mm-hmm.
We are the technology. And we, through knowing ourselves and through generations of teaching, imagine a kid that is taught their own power in the beginning. Imagine where they'd be, where,
Yeah, I've seen it on documentaries, never have seen it in real life, but my kids will be there.
Will evolve, and then we'll evolve. The genetics will evolve.
Mm-hmm.
We'll evolve that way. But this whole transhumanism, we're going to cyborg ourselves into the future to make ourselves better. It's not coming from the heart. It's coming from this mind-based, harmonic way of thinking that we're going to fix it with, tools. We're not going to organically go there. And yeah, that can bring up fear. That can bring up fear.
Well, thank you for all of your insights today. This has been a wild ride. I am beyond grateful for your wisdom here today.
It's good that you rein me in. I think I need that. I need to be reined in a little bit more, and I can stay on topic a little bit better.
You're good, Bob. I think this is just my role on the earth, is to ground. Man, I do some grounding crystal grids here, and the people I've done it to so far, they tell me that they're going down through the ground. It's pretty cool. Maybe I can have you over for one of those. But we will absolutely meet again to talk on the next podcast. Would you like to close us out with a chime around?
Am I lifting it up by those? Yeah, I have all these bowls here.
Do you want to send us out with a tone?
Yep.
No. All right. Well, thank you, and we'll see you again sometime soon.
Okay.